Hello, welcome back to part two of building the Fifie. It's summer's just about over. Sorry for the gap. I took some time off to go hiking and sailing and doing all kinds of things around the house, but it's getting to be fall and time to build boats again. So let's finish this boat here. I'm back at it, and I got it out of storage, and I in the process. In part one, we finished the hull. And if you take a look at that, it's a rather long video. Maybe I'll make this one a little shorter. And as I got it out and took a look at it, I could find ridges here where the planks meet one another. I don't remember that. Either it's settled or the wood's swollen, or I just forgot. That's probably more likely the case. Well, anyway, so I'm going to sand all these ridges off and get prepared to paint it. I think I'll keep the top wood, seal it with a clear sealer, and on the bottom paint it red with a white stripe, just like the boat. And so with that, let's get started, and we'll maybe make part three all about the deck. All right, so I sanded this all smooth as best I can. There's still a few bumps, but they're quite minor, and I'm very happy with that. Except for the fact that it became very white and bland all the way across. There was really no distinguishing between the planks. And it looked like it was one smooth piece of plywood or plastic or something. I wasn't quite happy with that. So I used some denatured alcohol to clean it off, and it looked somewhat better. But it's actually pretty bland right now, so I want to bring the color out. Especially up here where the wood is. Down where the paint is probably is okay. But so I experimented with some lacquer. I got some Tester's lacquer here and tried it on a piece of wood I have over here somewhere. And this sort of looks like it brings out the color. So that's what I'm going to do next, is I'm going to spray lacquer across the top. And hopefully this will bring out some of the rich color of the wood, so it'll look like a nice wood boat rather than a piece of plastic. Actually, that came out quite nice. It's still wet. It's a fairly uniform coat. We'll have to see what it looks like when it's dry. You know, and on the box it showed that this piece of wood was much darker and this piece of wood was much lighter. But just the reverse, this is the darker one and this is the lighter one. I guess that'll be okay. So here's the next thing I'm looking at. Where do I paint my white tape and the red paint at the bottom, and what part is the natural wood on the top? And the best I can do so far is take this laser leveler I have and make sure that the bottom of the keel is straight and square. It seems to be the only square part of this boat. And once doing that, I've been working on looking at the drawings, and as I raise this up, and as you look at the drawing, I'm noticing that the boat has a little bit of a cant. The stern seems to be 20 millimeters lower than the front. And that's the way the drawing is. And so this white line should be straight all right, but with a 20 millimeter cant. Something like that. So here I've measured 20 millimeters lower and tilted the boat that manner. And so the laser line shows a straight line here from the keel, and the boat is 20 millimeters lower in the stern. So if I raise up this laser level, I'm thinking that's how the bottom of the white line should be. So let me pull off this tape and do it again. So there, I've laid the white tape again, and it seems to go straight across now. So this might be the bottom of the white line, and then there'll be paint, white paint up above and red paint down below. So I think my laser leveler got the bottom of the white line pretty straight. Although there's an optical illusion of it dipping down here. I think that's straight. But there's an extra millimeter in the back, and there's a several millimeters up here in the front, in the bow, and I placed them by eye, and that doesn't look bad. I could paint that, you know, in the next couple steps. But I thought just to be a little OCD, I would cut out some cardboard and lay it over this just to make sure it's straight. So I turned my 1:1 scale drawing over. I don't know if you can see the bottom of the boat here, but there's a nice dark line where this white line goes all the way across. And I took this piece of paper and taped it just even with that. And it wasn't so simple. The paper's curved and there's wrinkles, so I pulled it tight and put a weight on one side and pulled it tight on the other side with this weight here, stretched it taut, and laid tape across the whole thing, and then I kind of moved it over. And I think this is going to represent the bottom of the white line. Then I turned it over and took this little pin and poked a hole through the drawing into the cardboard. And in theory, I'll be able to draw a line on that, and that'll get me closer to what the actual outline of the white line is. So here it is taped on. I can see here that I didn't go up high enough, which is close still. The bottom, I'll use the laser level to see if that's straight. The drawing shows 4 millimeters here, and I have 5 millimeter tape. And then I went a little higher, so I'm not sure I like the stern, but I think I'll go to 5 to 6 like I have. So my tape job wasn't that far off, just the front. And I gotta do the same on both sides. So I think what I have here is a repeatable process. Use the laser level on the other side. Put this cardboard on, but the tape has to go underneath the cardboard. I don't know if I'm going to trim this cardboard or what. But anyway, so now I think I am being OCD. I think that's probably good enough to start with. I'm going to I need to do this so I can lay my bottom strips of wood representing the rubbing strakes, 1, 2, or 3, I forget, and then I'll do the top one from the measured from the top here, so it's independent of this curve, but the couple 2 or 3 of them here need to be on that curve. So I'll leave this set up, I'll lay my rubbing strakes, then take it down and put it on the other side and lay those rubbing strakes, and then I'll take it all down and seal it. So I put the 4 rubbing strakes on both sides, and I sealed the bolt with lacquer. And next is to use the laser level and identify the bottom of the white stripe, tape it up, and start painting. I finished spray painting the bottom of the hull red. I really like the finish. It's smooth. I put multiple coats on, but it's glossy, and I don't like glossy. And I bought Tester's paint. It's a good quality paint. It's sprayed very nice. I was able to mix it. And it doesn't say glossy on this little jar. It's font size 2 everywhere, but it's glossy. There's no doubt about it. But now, how am I going to get this flat? There's lacquer, there's shellac, there's polyurethane. I've been studying that. What I did do is I painted the wood part down here with this spray lacquer. And this doesn't say matte either, but I think it is. So what I'm going to do, this is almost empty. I'm going to have to go online and buy another one of these. I'm going to spray this corner up here. You can see the shine. I'm going to spray this corner up here with this lacquer and see if that dulls it out and it changes the color, and do a little experiment. Alright, so I did the experiment on this corner up here, and sure enough it took the shine off. Looks more like the hull of a boat. Kind of flat all of a sudden. I used 2 coats. I found a local hobby store that had moved. I thought it was closed, and they had dull coat, so I went down and bought it, and I put 2 coats on both sides. And while I was at it, they also carried some white paint that was matte. At the time I bought this red paint, I also bought some white paint. And it doesn't say matte on there, so if it doesn't have the word matte on there, it's gloss apparently. So I'm not going to use that. I bought a matte white, and I'll paint a stripe on there. So I think it's now time to take off this masking tape and see how it did. The blue tape doesn't always stick so good, so I can see a little bit bled through here. I can sand that red off. The yellow tape sticks really good, but it doesn't do good with the curves. So you do these little individual segments. So the yellow tape seals real good against the wood, as does this white tape. But the yellow tape doesn't do so good in the curves. It doesn't bend so well. So what I do is I lay this strip of white tape down, which you saw in earlier pictures, and then you lay the yellow tape over it, and you get, hopefully, let's take a look here, yes, a very sharp defined line and nothing below it. Except the blue tape kind of doesn't stick so good, so I can see the blue tape bled through here a little bit. It's on the underneath, which is not so bad, and I can sand that off. Let's see how it looks the rest of the way. Now is the time to paint that white stripe. I measured off the drawings how far down the top of the white stripe goes from the rub strake. And I made little marks inside of the white line so that the paint covers it. Counted the millimeters down and put a little dash, I don't know if you can see it right there, where the top of the white line goes, and put the tape above that at the right place so that the little pencil marks get painted. And that's how I laid the top of the white line. Now the bottom of the white line is supposed to be straight with the water line.